Hey, what's up, guys? This is Cody the Coin Raptor, and today I want to go ahead and talk about crypto chart TA and what happened in the crypto market today. And so I talked about yesterday that the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, print was going to happen today, and we got the results of that. So what we got here is the forecast was 6.2%, and in actuality, it was 6.4% year over year CPI. So what this means is that it did not hit this lower CPI number. So this came in much more bearish than expectations. However, that being said, it did improve upon the previous CPI number. So it does show that that inflation is going down still, which is good, but it's not going down as fast as the market predicted. So yesterday, I also talked about the possibility of having a hotter than expected CPI come in, and that could have the potential to send equities down, including crypto. So what we got here is, however, something that is a little bit different. We got some pretty extreme volatility like I was expecting. However, Bitcoin did something very unusual, okay? And so what happened here is when the original CPI number came out, we did see a bit of a capitulation here. It went right through support at about 21,600 in this area right here, and then it very quickly recovered, and we can see this massive green volume candle, and we have an increase of about almost 2.5% in 1 hour for Bitcoin as it spikes up massively. Now that was followed by yet another huge red candle on the downside going down here. So in the span of about 3 hours, we had almost 900 Bitcoin trading hands in that span of 3 hours, which is wild. And it really seemed like investors and traders didn't really know what to do with this information. The way I understand it, the way I interpret it, was more bearish, right? However, the market ignored that and rallied instead. And so that's why you get this 2.5% rally. Now, what that tells me is that even in the case of something being bad news, it's treated as good news, which is not something that normally happens during a bear market. So that is quite possibly one of the things that I've been thinking about lately, and how to address this kind of in between, not quite a bear market, but not quite a bull market sort of, I guess you could call it kind of a market purgatory that we're in right now. And so we're seeing some huge volatility here. I'm not ready to call this a bull market just yet, but one thing's for sure, this is definitely not a bear market, because in a bear market, we would have seen a complete sell-off. And in fact, it would have given up the support here at 21,600. However, the fact that it went down and it was very quickly bought up and then shot up to the upside shows me that there's a lot of bullish momentum still in Bitcoin. And in fact, if we take a look at the funding rate, what we can see here is that for your contracts, that the contracts have actually increased in strength. So this green area here indicates that longs are dominant and they're paying a premium to shorts. And so what you're seeing here is that longs grew in strength, even despite the kind of sell-off before the CPI, or as the CPI was announced, and it increased right after that, showing that these longs are willing to pay an increased price to maintain their position for these perpetual contracts. So this is the derivatives market. This is not spot prices, but this does tend to have a sort of predictive power on the spot prices. And so this right here shows me that over a majority of the day, that longs were dominant and longs were strong, and that shows up here in the price action. And then additionally, if we take a look at the open interest, which kind of gives you an idea of the total number, the aggregated number of coin contracts here, of these coin margined contracts, we can see here that we have an increase in the number down here, right? The aggregated open interest gives us a kind of a volume except for these contracts. And so that increased also with the price here, indicating the fact that not only were longs willing to maintain their position, but additional longs showed up to push the prices higher. Okay, so we've seen an incredible amount of bullishness going into what is I would call it a really kind of bearish reading on CPI, but I guess that it's a little nuanced because it's still down technically. But I thought that if you had a larger CPI coming in, that would be interpreted as a bearish signal. And even if it was a bearish signal, the market just went right over it like a speed bump, and we saw huge buying today for Bitcoin. And in fact, if we go and we take a look at the SOPR, the spent output profit ratio, so the SOPR is going to give you an idea of sellers basically selling in profit and whether or not they're in profit. And so anytime it's above 1, that means they're in profit. Anytime it's below 1, that means they're not in profit. Right now, we're right on the edge of that, and I think that today probably will push us above. So people who are selling are probably going to be selling in profit right now for Bitcoin. And if we go and take a look at the Newpol levels, the net unrealized profit loss for the totality of Bitcoin, what we can see here is that, and they are totality, again, unrealized profit loss, as opposed to what we have here for the SOPR, that is realized profit loss. Unrealized profit loss, we have about 9%. So still fairly high, but not as high as it was back here in February and late January. And then in addition to that, we also have an increase in the number of addresses with a balance that's greater than 1 Bitcoin. And this is actually starting to get very close to the all-time high that we had here at about January 10th of 981,000 addresses. Right now, it's at about 981,000 addresses, or just below that peak. So what that's telling me is that you're having more people and more addresses that are stacking more than 1 Bitcoin. So that's kind of showing that demand for Bitcoin is picking up, at least for these balances with greater than 1 Bitcoin. All right. So what does this mean for the Bitcoin price? Now, this is kind of a question that I haven't yet figured out the answer to. I'm still kind of running various scenarios through my mind and trying to figure out what's going on right here, because we have many bullish signs and a couple of bearish signs. And I think that when you take it together in totality, what you see is a bearish macro picture still, but there is still a lot of bullish momentum, and longs are strong and dominant, and they're willing to buy the dip on all these. Even when we have kind of these panic events in which you've seen kind of a huge sell-off, we're still seeing that it's being rejected here off of this line of support of 21,600, and that we had a really strong rejection off of this line of support here. So there is increased buying right now for the Bitcoin price. Now, what I think what this means for prices in the intermediate term is we're probably going to wind up getting some more sideways action. Unless Bitcoin can come above this resistance level here at about 21,220, which it's very close to right now. Unless we can push above this level, what you're going to most likely wind up seeing is some more sideways action. Now, the RSI right now for the daily is right in the middle of about 51, so it's not really showing huge strength or huge or it's not showing overbought and it's not showing oversold currently for Bitcoin, so it gives it room to run in either direction. And I think with Bitcoin, Bitcoin's going to be heavily reliant on whatever the stock market's doing right now. If the Nasdaq's going up, Bitcoin's going to be going up. If the Nasdaq goes down, then Bitcoin's going to be going down. And I am still waiting very patiently to buy in below the support level, and we'll see if it actually does come below that. It's still a possibility in my mind, but the fact that today demonstrated a very strong bullish day on a day that I would have thought would have actually wound up being a little bearish. So that really kind of goes counterance to the idea that we're going to wind up getting a big pullback, maybe because I previously talked about a pullback coming down here to about 19,700 at this 200-day moving average. I think that's still on the table, but the likelihood of it happening is decreasing as these bullish events happen and they push the price higher. Now, for Ethereum, we zoom out and we take a look at the Ethereum price. Ethereum actually came down quite a bit here and almost touched their 200-day moving average, but it got rejected strongly off that level, and it had a strong green day right now of over 3%. We take a look at the hourly, and we can see that just like with Bitcoin, it had a very, very strong reaction to today's CPI. However, it didn't have that huge red candle, that dump off. Instead, it came all the way down, and then you see this massive amount of volume come in and push it even higher, push it above this support line right here at about 1500. And in fact, right now, its new resistance line is at about 1565. It has not been able to breach this level quite yet, but it does look like it's consolidating to try and push above this level and quite possibly go all the way out here to first 1583 and then up here to about 16 or 1600. That's where you're going to probably find resistance. Now, it is getting a little overbought on the daily or on the hourly here, so it's about 62. But if you take a look at the daily, you can see that it's actually not overbought at all. It's right in the middle of the range, and so it still has some room to run, just like with Bitcoin. And just like with Bitcoin, I'm waiting for a pullback. I'm not 100% sure that we're going to get a pullback, but we've already gotten quite a bit of a pullback from the top, from the highs, and I will be monitoring the situation to see if this is a good spot for me to step in. But judging by what I've talked about recently with the risk reward for Bitcoin and Ethereum for me is not there just yet. And so I'm going to let this play out before I decide to buy any more Bitcoin or Ethereum. So we're going to go ahead and go to our Binance Coin. Binance Coin had a pretty huge sell-off day on Monday, but today's reaction to the price was actually pretty muted. It didn't really go anywhere. It's still, it went up 0.6%, and it seems like more time needs to be passed before the investors can come in and they can actually buy Binance Coin, because the issues that Paxos has had with BUSD has kind of thrown a little bit of cold water on the bulls here for Binance Coin, and it remains to be seen how that's going to end up affecting Binance Coin. That BUSD ruling that the SEC had yesterday. Well, it remains to be seen how that will affect Binance. And so I think the buying right now for Binance Coin has been very muted. And that's kind of surprising given the fact that Bitcoin had a strong day, and Ethereum had a strong day, and Binance Coin basically did nothing. So we'll see. It'll probably wind up going sideways. I think this one's probably going to wind up going sideways for a bit. You have support here at 282, and you have resistance here at about 333. So it's probably going to trade within this range for a little bit longer, and then we'll see. It might break out to the upside if Bitcoin goes up, or it could even go through the support level if Bitcoin goes down. All right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. If you like this content, let me know. Like, subscribe, and go ahead and leave a comment, and let me know what you guys thought about today's bullish buying action. Do you guys think that we're now in the bull market, with the market now treating bearish events as bullish events, or you could say bad news as good news? Or do you think that we're still kind of stuck in limbo, which is basically what I'm thinking right now? Let me know what you guys think, and I'll be sure to catch you guys on the next video.